of the journalism itself, and I think that this is really the essence of this. I'm going to start out by pointing out to your chapter 8, where, and it's been said several times, but there are literally thousands of experts now available as news sources. I underline the word source, because I really want to speak to the question of opaqueness of the source. When has a journalist revealed his source? And we have some absolute outstanding and ridiculous examples of, for example, Bob Novak knowing that Armitage gave him the name of Valerie Plame, never revealed that. We wasted a lot of time fiddling around with that project and that problem, only to discover that Bob, protecting his source, couldn't have been more opaque. So I don't think we are going to be able to solve the opaqueness question. The real trick, and financially this is a big problem, because if we're not going to be paid by the New York Times, how is a journalist going to be paid? And that problem is humongous, because we got a free media source here with the internet. That'll have to be solved. But the shrewd journalist, and I think you've said this, that the shrewd journalist is going to figure this out and tap these thousands of sources about something, whether it's a genome or whatever. And that's going to be our new pattern. We're in a paradigm shift here, the likes of which nobody ever in history has seen. And it's global. It's not just the United States. So I think I'd like to see more of the discussion focus on how can a journalist who's not going to be employed by the New York Times figure out how to capture all these sources and bring forth the stories that you think we ought to know about or might want to know about. Thanks.
So I've been kind of thinking a little bit about this, and I was not very satisfied with my earlier answer about what do you say to a journalist who's terrified of losing their paycheck, and how do we make sure that the important work of journalism continues to be funded? And there's a lot of things you can say, but at the end of the day, I think that the internet is generally bad for anything big. I don't see where the internet helps big things. With one caveat, one big exception I'll get to in a minute. That the internet is very good to empower individuals and small groups of individuals. And when I think about the work I do, I'm always thinking about, well, how do you harness that kind of very individual nature of the internet? I like to compare the internet to the telephone rather than the television. That's what it's a way you talk to your friends and family. And so this creates a lot of challenges for journalists who have relied on relatively large institutions to pay the way. But I think this is not just a challenge for journalists, it's a challenge for a lot of industries and a lot of people whose livelihoods and kind of traditional career paths are being disassembled by kind of some of the forces at work here. The caveat on the size thing is what I think of as the platforms of the internet, which is Google, eBay, Craigslist, large platforms that enable individuals to interact. And I do think that we don't spend nearly enough time thinking about those platforms and the way they're shaping our worldview.
I'd like to quote Nicco on this subject.
Dangerous.
Again, because he put it to me very, very distinctly, succinctly and to the point. He said, the internet hates for you to make money. Hates it. And does everything in its power to keep it from happening. And Google, of course, and others like Google, as he said, have solved that problem. But, YouTube hasn't. Some of these other gigantic successes web-wise haven't, and very few. This gets to the point that was made about newspapers. The conundrum for newspapers is that most of the revenue that they are now getting that is making them operationally profitable is from their print advertising, which has proven to be something that has resilience. It's something that has, at least for the present, it has value for advertisers that online advertising in particular ways, in particular areas, simply has not proven to have. What the newspaper industry, and I'm talking about the newspaper industry again because they are at least the present, the utility, the engine for most reporting. How they're going to deal with that is to sell you a subscription, and with that subscription you're going to get complete open access to their website, and otherwise you will probably not. That's what the New York Times is working on right now. I know that's the direction that the industry may sort of be moving in, but that raises a very big question. Will people who have been getting something for free be willing to pay for it, even if they are trying to support an institution that they value? That's something that remains to be seen.
Eduardo, go ahead, please.
Could I pick up on that value? At the risk of quoting you wrong, what was in jeopardy again? Was it news?
What's in jeopardy is hardcore reporting of important subjects based on professional journalistic principles and on what we call the news of verification rather than the news of assertion.
Can I ask, if it's really in jeopardy, why should we let the market decide?
Because the market model has been the American model. It's not being decided by the market in a lot of places. In China, for instance.
So we're willing to let the market decide because that's what our culture, and that's the American model. And of course, you would know much more than I on the other the Kaiser model or the investigative journalism. So my only question is, it just seems like if we're willing to put it in the rubric of the American model and say it doesn't seem like it's that much of a jeopardy. If we're willing to say healthcare is in jeopardy and we do adjust that to market forces, and it's not going to be just market forces, then I'm just wondering at what point and how important then.
Well, if it's not going to be market forces, it's going to be philanthropy or it's going to be government. My experience with philanthropy is that foundations, I welcome nonprofit contributions to journalism and things like you're talking about. I think they've been very, very important. I just don't trust them. I don't trust their willingness to, one, stay the course, because foundations change their focus. It's effectively like having one or two advertisers, and if you lose one of the advertisers, you're sunk.
I don't think that the market has destroyed journalism or destroyed art. I think greed has. What I think happened with the Chicago Tribune and LA Times is just, I'm not sure that was actually the market. Right?
No, it was, the newspapers that have gotten themselves in trouble, the news organizations mostly are in trouble or in bankruptcy because they have, overspent and they were not able to generate the revenues to service the debt. The distinction I was trying to make about them being in operational profit mode now is that they can function operationally, but if they've got gigantic debt service, most of them that do are in bankruptcy now. And it was fat, dumb, and happy, there's no question. And newspapers were valued extravagantly, and people paid extravagantly for them, and now they have been retooled, and the question is whether on this reduced revenue expectation, they can also provide the public service. They are a business that provides a genuine public service. If you look at it from my perspective, it's very rare that happens. But this is a public service, this kind of hardcore reporting, to my mind.
But it is also a trend, socially responsible corporations, like the corporation counting more than just the bottom line, but